Hello and welcome to Hancock County, Your Voice, Your Vote, a special news presentation from 1330 WFIN and UFTV. I'm WFIN News Director Doug Jenkins, and I'll be your host for the presentation. Well, with the March primary rapidly approaching in Ohio, we thought it'd be interesting to get the pulse of voters in Findlay and Hancock County and see what they're thinking. With that, we need a wide pool of candidates and party outsiders commanding a great deal of attention. It's safe to say that at the very least, this certainly feels like an election like no other. Now, as we assembled our panel, we'll meet them in just a moment. So we wanted to make sure we had 4 Hancock County voters, 1 or 2 from the Republican side and 2 from the Democrat side. But before we introduce you to the panel, I think it's important to tell you how we assembled them. First, we went to the County Board of Elections and got the pool of people who have voted in the last 2 primaries. So we had a pool of people who are likely voters. From there, we decided to split it up, as we said, 1 Republican from the city, 1 Republican from the county, and also 1 Democrat from the city, 1 from the county. Our pool of potential panelists was then formed by finding people who voted in the last 2 primary elections. As I said, we sent out letters to 50 random people from each pool, and in the interest of making sure that we received timely responses, participants were then selected on a first-come, first-served basis. Now, it might not be the most scientific way of seating a panel, but it did eliminate any bias. And most importantly, it was free, which is a good thing for us. So let's meet our forum participants. We'll start off with our city residents, Karen Hsu, representing City Democrats, Doug Couchot, who is representing City Republicans, and then from the county, Sam Ellis, who will be representing County Democrats, and from the County Republicans, John Livingston. Now, we do have them separated, but not because we anticipate any fisticuffs or screaming or anything. We just needed balance on the set. This is meant to be just a discussion of the issues, not really a shouting match, so you don't need to worry about that. So let's meet tonight's panelists, and we'll go ahead and sort of introduce ourselves to each other. Although, ironically, since we selected this randomly, you all sort of knew each other coming into it, which I suppose is a representation of being from a small county. Let's start with you, Karen. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a mother of 2 almost grown boys. One just graduated from high school last year, and the other one's a few years out. And I'm not working right now. I was spent most of my career as a stay-at-home mom, but I'm very interested in getting involved and have been involved with nonprofit organizations in Hancock County, and with tutoring and literacy. And for a while, I was very active with the Van Buren Music Boosters because my son was in the band at Van Buren, and that was a lot of work, but it was really fun. So I'm looking for a job in something hopefully in nonprofits, or I was originally a librarian, possibly in the library field.
All right.
So.
Sam, let's learn a little bit about you.
Well, I'm Sam Ellis. I'm 87 years old. I've always been interested in politics, just to the degree, well, in some ways, my daughter ran for the Ohio Senate a few years back. I helped Ben Knopp do his campaigning. I worked at Whirlpool for 23 years. I retired 23 years ago. I barbered for about 24, 25 years. Spent 5 years in the Army, and I got 1 daughter, 2 granddaughters, well, 2 granddaughters and 2 grandsons. And my wife passed away a few years ago, so I remarried 8 years ago, and I got 2 grandchildren there, a boy and a girl. Little girl was adopted from China. And I love to fish, and that's about it.
All right. And we should mention the Korean War vet as well, which I think is worth mentioning, obviously. Doug Couchot, let's learn a little bit about you.
I am a self-employed contractor in City of Findlay, Hancock County for the past 20 years. I've currently changed employment to Fresh Encounters, Progressive Refrigeration. Married, wife Miracle. My daughter Amanda's doing her master's at Bowling Green State University. Brad currently works at Reineke Ford in the main shop. I enjoy the Boy Scouts of America. I think they serve the youth of Findlay, Hancock County. I am very strong in trying to help better the youth to help make a difference for their future.
All right. John Livingston, our county Republican. Tell us a little bit about you.
I'm John Livingston. I've been married to my wife Kay for 33 years. We have 5 children, 4 daughters and a son, also 2 granddaughters. I retired from Marathon 6 years ago after working for 30 years to pursue my dream of being a college professor. So I am a full-time college professor at Rhodes State College on the OSU Lima campus. I'm also a member of the Riverdale Board of Education. I'm in my 15th year, so my 4th term.
All right. So those are our panelists, and now it's time to get into, I guess, more of the nitty-gritty, where we're going to learn a little bit more political leanings, things like that. Let's start off just the basis. What are the things that you're looking for? What are the issues that matter to you when we look at this primary that's coming up? And I guess we'll just work it back this way. John, we'll start with you.
Of course, coming from being a college professor, I'm really interested in about education. Education has made a big change in Ohio here in the last 5 to 10 years. Interesting about the candidates talking about free college education and how that's just going to work. I mean, it sounds really good. I believe everybody should have the right to a college education. But also, being an accounting professor, I also wonder where is the cash coming from to support that initiative.
Doug, what are the issues that you look at as we approach the primary?
I feel the big issue that really hammers myself as a small business owner is the health insurance. The health insurance is, in my opinion, is out of control. And the perceived scheme that it was going to be more economical, more efficient for people it's false, totally false. The insurance is incredible. And the job opportunities out there. I see so many families really hurting because of the lack of higher paying jobs. Now, I'm sure that is because of the skill base, and some people just don't step up to take advantage of evening classes or adult education classes like over at Findlay City School in the Millstream to better themselves so they can get a better job.
All right. Sam, what are the issues you're looking at here?
Well, I'm interested in Medicare, the veterans' benefits, which I think they need a lot more than what we have. I'd like to see them be able to go to your own doctor rather than run up to Toledo to go to their doctor and spend a half a day. I'd like to see the Social Security. This year we got no raise at all. They said because gas came down. I drive an automobile 77,000 miles a year. So I really ain't saving that much money. And those are the veterans' benefits and jobs. And I worry about our country. ISIS is on all that. I don't hear too much from my party about it, but I hear a lot from the other party. But most of them says they ain't going to do what might be, what I'm going to do. Everything's going to be good, but they don't tell you how good. They want to increase the Army, and they say, well, our Army isn't any, or our defense isn't any good, but yet, as soon as they get in, they're going to go over and take care of ISIS. So those are the things I'm interested in.
It's an interesting topic that we'll get more into. But Karen, let's get your big issues for you before we delve into that.
I agree with a lot of the gentlemen that these are very important issues to me, the education, and I also am interested in, besides tuition payment, is the student loan, which has been a real burden for a lot of families. And my boys, one of them stop college for a while to make money in a job so he could help, because because I'm not working, so it was tougher for us to pay for tuition. But so things like that, and the economy, I think there really needs to be more attention to fair wage for a fair job, and women should be paid the same as men, and if they do the same job, and also that there are people who are trying to make a living on the wage they get, which is not sufficient to support a family. Often, if they're working 40 hours, they should be making more, I think. And
Okay.
those are the important ones.
With those said now, that's the big question. Is there a candidate that represents your sort of values best at this point? We'll just shoot right down the line real quick, and then we'll talk about that a little bit. John, is there any candidate that sort of represents what you're looking at right now?
Well, I have to say on the Republican side, we've had our slew of choices, to choose
Then
from,
some.
and some. I'm right now. I'm really not completely decided, but Marco Rubio is kind of attractive to me.
All right. Doug, is there a candidate that speaks to you on your issues right now?
Doug, as a contractor that sees many different people in the community, I typically stay silent, only because I don't want to offend them on my view.
Understood.
Now, I was asked the question on who or what I thought about Donald Trump. And what I told this individual, and he is I won't mention his name, but he is a local car salesman.
Okay.
And I told him, I said, when Donald Trump becomes president, I hope I don't get fired for this, but I said, when Donald Trump becomes president and goes to Washington, he's going to kick in the door, turn on the light, and watch the cockroaches run. Because when he gets in there, they are going to be fearful of him, because there's no special interest so far that we know that he is saying that is bankrolling him. I feel that we need a big change in Washington. I do feel that there. They keep saying they're the honest. We do need honesty, and we need people accountable for our money that they are taking. As a contractor and self-employed individual, I know what they're taking each week that I pay out in the different taxes. So that's my opinion. I hope
All right.
it doesn't get me in trouble.
Well, we're going to ask that nobody hold anything against these candidates. They've been brave enough to come and talk to us, so nobody who's listening to this is going to hold anything against you guys. I don't think at all. We'll come back to the Donald Trump issue, because certainly that's been probably the biggest talk of this entire election cycle is Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders, the outsiders. We'll talk about that here in just a second, but I still want to go down the line and see if there's a candidate that speaks to our Democratic panelists as well. And certainly the choices have been, you've had basically two the entire time. I know it started off with five, but it's been a two-horse race for the majority of it. Sam, is there a Democratic candidate that you like right now?
I kind of like Hillary. She says she's going to do about what Obama has been doing, only she's going to keep improving it. I think Obama could have done a lot better had didn't have to fight every move that he made from the House and the Senate. Bernie Sanders, I like him, but I'm a little scared of how is he going to get the money to do all this. He says he's going to get it from the rich. No one's ever got any money from the rich. If I had to go Republican, it would probably be John Kasich. He's more moderate, and I like him.
Kasich's an interesting candidate as well, because of, like you said, being moderate perhaps appeals to both parties, and we'll talk about that as well. But Karen, let's get your feel for a candidate that represents your values.
Well, I haven't completely made up my mind either, but I'm leaning towards Bernie Sanders because him being in the Congress for 40 years and involved with some legislation that deals with some of the issues, the veterans especially. Evidently, he's worked hard for some laws to get more facilities, more medical facilities, as Sam was saying, more local, and up in his own home state of Vermont. And I know I'm not completely clear how he's going to do everything either, but he seems to be determined and his experience in the legislature, I think, helps a lot.
All right, let's talk about Trump right now, because when you mentioned Trump, Karen, you looked like you were fidgeting a little bit when the Trump card was played here. From the other side of the aisle, what is your thoughts on Donald Trump right now when you look at how the race has been run so far?
For the longest time, I just thought it was like a show. You know, he was just a sideshow or something. But seems very sincere in his desires to get to be the president. I just don't like some of his comments and some of his comments back to people. For instance, when the Pope said something about him not being a Christian, which was, I'm not necessarily agreeing on in one way or another, but he was, to me, rude back to the Pope and to several others. And he's made comments about people's appearances and so forth. And I just don't see that he has the experience necessary to be our commander-in-chief. I really don't.
So, Sam, what are your thoughts on Donald Trump?
I think he's a joke. And I don't see how he's going to become president insulting people. It seems to work for him, but that's only a third of the people. And once they get it down to one or two against him, I look for him to have his 30%, and I don't look for him to be the nominee. At least I hope he isn't.
Doug, we'll come back to you on that in a second, but I want to hear from the Rubio supporter here, at least leaning towards Rubio at this point. John, your thoughts on Donald Trump so far?
Donald Trump. I can understand why so many people are excited about Donald. I understand that people are tired of the status quo and they're ready for a big change. And definitely Donald Trump would bring a humongous change to the presidency. But on the other hand, even though I'm a Republican, Donald Trump scares me from the standpoint of running the financial end of the government. We have an individual, a multimillionaire, or he could be a billionaire, I'm not sure, who has filed bankruptcy. That concerns me. It also concerns me about the fact of I want our president to be somebody who you look up to and respect. And I'm concerned about his mouth, about that he's going to say something to the wrong individual in the wrong country, and the fires will start. You know, so that's one of the things. But I understand why people are so excited about him, because he will bring change, and I believe change is needed. So that's kind of what's tugging at me is, you know, I like what he wants to do. I'm having trouble with the tactics.
All right, so Doug,
And I respect Doug in his comments with Mr. Trump.
Well, and this is part of why
Yeah.
we're doing this, is because I think we all get, or at least when you hear people, at least on Facebook or Twitter, talk about supporters of one candidate or the other, you start to throw up the stereotype, and that's part of why we're doing this, is related to break that down. I mean, I don't think that that people really are a reflection of the cartoon characters they're made out to be on Facebook. So Doug, let's come back to you. Obviously, Trump has said some inflammatory things over the campaign period. So how do you reconcile what he has said with what you think that he brings to the table?
Well, I don't agree with some of the outlandish things that Donald has said. Now, I myself, I would have held back. The man is very smart. Now, he's a millionaire over, as he has said. I don't try to keep track on how many millions. I see a lot of Donald Trumps around town. And what I mean by that, Donald Trump has been successful in life. He may or may not have filed bankruptcy. I guess that could be arm wrestled over. Is that a real hang up for people? I guess I look at successful people, and I think other people do also, that I would like to be like Doug Jenkins. Look at the house he's got. Look at that beautiful wife. I'd
And
like
the
to have
hair.
one like that.
Don't forget
the
the hair.
hair,
Yeah.
the car, the job. But you know, it is pretty hard for Doug Jenkins to hold all that together also. You know, we're not Doug Jenkins, we're not Donald Trump. But I think he has got the business mind, and he has proved it. over the years by the projects, very elaborate projects, much bigger than what Marathon's building over there, he has accomplished. And that takes, you don't necessarily need to know how to do everything on that project. You just need to know the right people in the right place to make things happen. And I feel that's Donald Trump. You don't have to act like you know everything. Just know the right people to get it done, is my opinion.
All right, I think that's a good place to take a break. We're going to take a 2-minute break here. When we come back, we'll start getting into some of the individual issues that we've heard all about. We'll be back in just a moment on Your Voice, Your Vote.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. You can do it here. But you probably won't. You're busy. Kids, work, show coming back in 48 seconds. So let's do this now. Hold up 1 finger if you're a man, women, 0. 3 more fingers if you're over 60, 2 over 50, 1 over 40. If you're not sure, keep in mind you're sitting on a couch right now, so 1 more finger if you're not very active. 1 finger if yes, 0 if no. 1 yes, 0 no. Next, find the body type that looks most like you and hold up that many fingers while I look around awkwardly. And that's it. If you're holding up 5 fingers or more, you probably have prediabetes. Sorry to be so blunt, but hey, you're busy. Just go to the site.
There's one thing you can never have sex without.
It's not something you buy.
Or something you take.
In fact, there's only one way to get it.
It has to be given to you, freely.
It's consent.
Because sex without it isn't sex.
It's rape. Consent.
If you don't get it, you don't get it. It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Hey, look, it's those guys. Are you good to drive?
I'm fine.
How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be.
You go and step out of the vehicle for me?
See ya, buddy. Good luck. So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing, and it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.
Welcome back to Your Voice, Your Vote from 1330 WFIN and UFTV as we talk to 4 voters in Hancock County and about the issues. You've met our panelists. You've found out a little bit about their leanings and the things that are important to them. We're going to delve a little bit more into the issues we've heard the candidates talk about on the campaign trail here. Now, in 2 weeks, we're going to come back and do this again, but we're going to talk a little bit more about how the campaign is focused on Ohio at that point. Right now, we're just going over the broad strokes of the campaign. So let's get into some of the issues that we've heard the candidates talk about. With what we just saw in Kalamazoo, of course, the issue of gun control is going to come up again, as it always does when we have a shooting like that. Is there a candidate that you feel the strongest on gun control, or at least represents sort of where you feel on gun control? We'll go ahead and start on the left side of the aisle. Karen, what do you think, Karen?
I imagine both Democrats are strongly against having more tighter gun control, as far as not taking away anyone's Second Amendment rights. I think they've all said that, and I agree with that. But to find ways there are laws that are not being followed, selling guns in gun shows without being registered and background checks and so forth. And I think we can't prevent every time, because there are people who have legally bought guns and someone may have stolen them, unfortunately. But I think Bernie could really make a difference, hopefully to try to strengthen the laws to just make us sure that the people who are buying them legally are okay with that.
What about you, Sam?
I pretty well agree with that. I like both Democrats as far as that on gun control. You don't need a giant weapon to bring a deer or a rabbit down. I did it with a shotgun. Overseas, an M1 did pretty good for me too. So I can't see why they need big guns. In fact, I don't own a gun. So,
Doug, is there a candidate that, and I would imagine your opinion is going to be a little bit different here, but is there a candidate that represents your views on the issue of the Second Amendment and gun control rights?
I think they're all like a piece of wet bar of soap. They're so slippery and flip-flopping around so much that it's hard to really say who is for, other than they're always blaming the gun instead of the nut that purchased the gun. How can you blame an inanimate object on a terrible thing that just happened here? It's not the gun, it's the individual that purchased the gun. You will never be able to stop that kind of a individual that legally purchased a gun, no matter what caliber of gun it is. You will never stop that there. The mental insane people, they're not going to come out and say they're mentally insane. Who would want to do that now? Who'd want to voluntarily come out and say that? And the doctors, they're going to be hogtied also from saying that, Joe just should not have a gun. So, Doug, I really can't say any one particular candidate.
Joe, let's hear from you on this issue.
And I kind of agree. I think when it comes to gun control, I think the candidates are kind of shying away from it. It's such a hot topic. I do believe we need to really look at, as a country, why anyone has the right to buy an assault rifle. I don't care whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. I mean, on which side of the fence you're on. The right, I think you should have the right to bear arms, but I think the government has the right to limit what type of arms that is. But I do agree with Doug in the fact that you have to look at who has purchased the gun and who is shooting the gun as part of the problem. But any candidate, I mean, you can look at any of the candidates and they all will talk about gun control, but they're not being real specific yet because I think it's such a hot topic on both sides. So I can't choose one.
So we've talked a little bit about the issue. Now I want to gauge where that stands when you're looking at a candidate in terms of how important it is. Just quick answer, on a scale of 1 through 10, where does Second Amendment rights, gun control rank for you? We'll just go back reverse order. John?
I'm kind of in between. I would even say as low as a 5.
Okay.
I agree with John, a 5 on gun control.
5 pretty well.
About middle of the road?
This is how we,
Just, yeah,
importance to us.
if
or
when you're
important-
looking at a candidate, is this the be-all, end-all of I'm voting for this candidate specifically because of this issue, or does it fall below that?
Probably maybe a 6 because I don't know if they alone can do it. I think it's going to take a lot more cooperation across the board with other authorities and research.
So everybody kind of in the middle of the road on this one. It's on the radar, but not the thing that's going to drive you to the poll. I'd say it's probably our. If we can say consensus, we'll go with
I
that.
agree with that.
Let's talk Wall Street. That's the hot term that we hear out there. Regulation of Wall Street or big businesses, 1%, however you want to say it. That's what we hear a lot about, whether pro or con. John, we'll start with you. Do you think that there needs to be additional regulation on Wall Street, or what do you look at when you look at big business, and does it impact how you want to vote?
Being an accountant for 30 years at Marathon and now an accounting professor, Mike Oxley, as part of the Sarbanes-Oxley, did a wonderful job in creating a bill that helped regulate businesses when it comes to financials and producing good financial reports. And I think that already did a good job of helping regulate Wall Street from the standpoint is that we're pretty much guaranteed that the financials that Wall Street has are truly representing the financials of that company. A lot of the ups and downs of the stock market, a lot of it I believe it's media driven. I'm sorry to say that, Doug. Media driven,
I'm used to it.
hype. I mean, you hear all kinds of reasons why the stock market jumped up 300 points or it went down 400 points. So no, I think we have enough regulation.
Doug, what about you, small business owner? what do you think when it comes to, big business regulation, that type of thing?
Kasich did help bring down the taxes. I will say that for John, that he did help bring down the taxes in Ohio on several different programs there. I kind of agree there with John with the overhype. The country was built on entrepreneurs, to make money, create jobs. For the ones out there that thinking that it's going to be a free ride, there is no free ride. Free rides are at home with mom and dad. That's their responsibility to teach you to pull yourself up, be honest, and do the right thing. Just go to work, do your job, and try to better yourself.
I never got too involved in stocks. I never owned a stock. And most of my investments is saved money. When they had the fall, when it fell years ago, a lot of people lost a lot of money. I had a lot of friends out the Whirlpool lost 20, 30, or some of them better than $200,000. So I'm really not that involved in the stock market. And I don't keep up, I don't keep up with it, so I really don't know that much about it.
Karen, your thoughts when it comes to business regulation?
I don't think there should be too much more regulation, but I just am concerned about that we might have the situation like we had in the 80s with Lehman Brothers and the companies that took advantage of something and kept things under wraps, and everybody thought things were going really well, but they took advantage of people, and then it caused this crash and everything else. So I think that there should be some oversight of those kinds of things, because if people, even though people may have earned a lot of money, they can get to a point where they might take advantage of those below them.
All right, and we'll do the same thing. We'll go scale of 1 through 10. We'll go back, where does this drive you to the poll for a candidate or not? And Karen, we'll start with you. Where does this rank in terms of the heat index for driving you to the poll?
6.
The 6?
5, probably 5.
About a 5?
1 or 2.
1 or 2, okay. Well, let's flip it around a little bit on the conservative side. Are there candidates that are a little bit, are there candidates that are less regulation that maybe make it more of an issue for you? Or
the Wall Street issue, I think, is just over media driven. I really
might
feel
get beat up today.
No, it's a roller coaster ride. You
Right.
go, you put it in there, you leave it alone. Hopefully, I can make it to Sam's age, 88, or going to be 88. And you sure hope it's there. That you don't have a Lehman Brothers scheming or some Ponzi scheme, or your broker, cheating you. It basically falls back to honesty. And, being in business, there's a lot of great people out there, everyone on here, honest to have done work for it. And then there's people out there, I swear, they call just to get you under their house trailer and found a sucker.
All right. So, about a 1 or 2. What about John?
Now, being financial, that's still more of an issue with me. So I'm more of a 6 going towards a 7 when it comes to financial.
All right, now we're running out of time. I want to squeeze one more question in here real quick. So this will be our speed round, I guess, for lack of a better term. What are your concerns about the economic future for yourselves and those important to you? And what do you think, what's the government's role in that? Do they get in the way? Does there need to be more government to take care of that? John, let's go ahead and start with you. Again, we'll make it snappy on this round.
I'm always for less government. I think government's too big. I think we're better off with less government and letting America work the way it should work.
Doug?
Less government. Bring the taxes down.
And both of you feel that this in turn leads to better economic prosperity for you and your family then?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I do believe so also.
Okay.
Opportunities out there. I mean, you got to get up and go and take advantage of the opportunities in front of you.
All right. Sam?
I think that we got enough government, but I don't think we should have any less government than what we have. In some ways, we should have more.
Do you feel that with more, there could be more economic prosperity for you, your family members, people you care about?
I think so, yeah. When you get older, you need more help. So that's primarily what I feel.
Karen?
I'm concerned that the current situation is going to be detrimental to some extent to my heirs, my sons and so forth, because there may be opportunities out there, but the pay isn't always right, and these other interests could come along and interfere with that, and I think the government has to keep an eye on it and not, overbearing, but just making sure that businesses do the right thing, and especially with a college. I mean, people's lives can be ruined by having so much college debt after they go to college, and that makes it difficult for a young person to get into the kind of position that they would like to, because they.
All right.
A student loan that says it's a federal student loan?
Yes.
That should be like 1-2%. Period. Fixed.
Well, hold on to that thought. We're going to probably talk about that in our next time. We'll do that in 2 weeks. We're just about out of time for tonight's forum. I want to thank our panelists. They've been great for us doing this for the first time, and none of us really knowing what we were getting into. I had a lot of fun. So tonight, again, we focused on the broad issues of the campaign. In 2 weeks, we're going to reassemble and talk about the issues that the candidates are talking about when they turn their attention to the Ohio primary, which is coming up on March 15th. Again, I'd like to thank our panelists for their participation in our forum, and of course the University of Findlay for hosting our discussion and providing the space for that. Again, I'm WFIN News Director Doug Jenkins for Hancock County, your voice, your vote. Thanks for tuning in.